First of all, I want to thank everyone for being here today, for all the speakers and everyone that's traveled far for this occasion. I'm excited that we have the opportunity to have this symposium here in Grand Rapids. I went to one out of town in Southfield, and that was my first experience where I heard all these speakers and people giving their testimony. So I'm really excited to be here sharing mine with you today. First of all, I'll start before lupus, and then the transition on how I got it and where I am today. I came back from a study abroad trip in France. I had lived there for a year. I was in great health. For the most part, I had a little bit of arthritis, probably had lupus, had no clue. I was eating organic food. I wasn't driving or anything. I was in extremely good shape when I got back. So it was to my shock when I got here. 2 months later, my body just I started having pain. I started not feeling well, and I couldn't really figure out what was going on. The pain I had was in my back, and it was my kidneys telling me, you got 3 weeks. You got 3 weeks and we're shutting down. I didn't have an idea. I didn't have medical insurance at the time because I was a college student. I just came back to the States. Sorry, I'm long. I moved a lot. And they kept thinking I was a drug seeking. They kept giving me ibuprofen and prednisone and all sorts of drugs. And no matter what I told them, they thought, once again, you look fine. It was my kidneys telling me, we're gonna shut down, and we're gonna really shut down in a major way. That's when I went to the doctor. I was in and out of the hospital, and they couldn't really figure out what it was. I remember one morning I had extra weight on. I couldn't button my pants. I couldn't figure out how I had all this excess weight. So I went to the doctor finally again. My brother carried me to the hospital, and at that moment the doctor told me I would have died if I wouldn't have came in. I had full-blown pneumonia. Both lungs were completely full, and I was immediately in renal failure. I didn't know what dialysis was. Sorry, I get emotional. I had no clue. And I remember him coming in and telling me that I had to get a tube put in my chest in order to stay alive. And I didn't really get it, because I was like, I don't want a tube in my chest. But he said, if you don't get it, you'll die. And I was, what do? You take the tube, right? So I took the tube. And with that, I had to rehabilitate at Mary Free Bed. I had to relearn how to walk. I've had a wheelchair, a walker, and a cane that I've utilized, and it's been a journey. I've been on dialysis 11 years. It's been, up and down with, my health. But everyone always thinks you look great, and at the end of the day, your body is just attacking itself. With that, I've had numerous blood clots. I've had skin lesions. I look okay now, but I used to be completely covered in these lesions. I don't know if some of you lupus survivors have that, but it's like your skin rips, and it doesn't matter what you put on it. And I remember being in Myers and walking. I was so excited to just be out, and mothers were grabbing their children because they were like, oh God, what does she have? And I'm like, you can't get it. But just like, people never know what people are dealing with behind the scenes. So I've been bullied, I've been laughed at, I've been, mocked for something that I haven't been able to control. But my motto, I was just like, well, it is what it is, you're gonna be fine, you're gonna get through it, but at the end of the day, you still remember how others make you feel, for something that you cannot control. I've been mocked for using handicap parking. There's days I'm too weak. And you get there and you park, and I've had people scowl at me, I've had people leave notes, and they're like, you don't need to be taking up spots for those people. I'm like, I am those people. So do not be quick to judge. And before it was a little easier because I looked sick. And so everyone was like, oh, let the sick woman park. But I even remember being at Cedar Point. My friends, thank God I have good friends and family. They were like, we're gonna go, we're gonna have a good time. But I remember having the handicap pass where you get to cut in front of all the lines. And people were just, mean mugging me. And at that time I had my dialysis catheter. So I was able to be like, like, you want some of this? So it was easier at the time. But it's just, it's been an overall process. But I got better a little bit, and then I got off dialysis. So I was like, okay, I'm on the road to recovery. A few months later, the lupus came back with a vengeance and attacked my heart. Gave me pericarditis and put me back on dialysis. After I thought I had my life back, I was getting ready to, go to grad school and whatnot, and boom, here we are, back on dialysis. So with the dialysis, I developed anxiety and stress, because I don't know if anyone knows of anyone on dialysis. Basically, your kidneys do not work, and they have to be filtered in order for you to stay alive. So you have to go to a clinic 3 hours a week, no, three to 4 hours a week, 3 to 4 times a day. This is where I have all my scars from all the surgeries I've had. That arm didn't work, this arm didn't work. My chest is completely closed because of all the ports, and then they even went to my groin. So now for dialysis, I do it in my stomach. I do it 11 hours a night, every single night until I get my kidney transplant. That is coming soon. I just gotta be patient, stay healthy. Thank you. And it'll be here. But with that, I developed just the overwhelming just anxiety and grief of people telling me, oh, it's in my head. Oh, it's your diet. Oh, you have lupus because of this. Or, you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, we don't know why we have lupus. We do not know. There's other diseases and whatnot that people are dealing with and affected by. You're not aware of what you have going on until it happens to you. And it's not comforting to hear this and that and this and that. You have what you have. You need support. Let's try to get through it and be positive. But I just couldn't understand why everybody was like, this blame the victim is mind-boggling to me, because at the end of the day, nobody wants to be sick. Nobody wakes up and is like, you know what, I want to be sick today. You know what I mean? Like, no one says that. And I couldn't grasp why that kept coming up. It kept being a reoccurring issue. So I had to work through that. I had to work through my new life, my new adjustment. I'm a very busy person. I had to adjust to a schedule. And I kept getting sick at the clinic because you're in a big room, and they literally herd you in like cattle. Like every 4 hours, someone's on the machine and someone takes their place. And I just was like, it just never, the concept of only 3 times a week, like how am I supposed to last the whole week with only getting cleaned every 3 times a week? So now I feel better because I do it every night, because I'm down to my last option, the peritoneal dialysis, and that's been working okay, but I still have, issues with the dialysis. And with that, I had to realize that I had to cope, that I had to talk about what was going on, because as women and as just people in general, we're always pushed to be strong. Like, look at moms and kids and families, and we're running around, we're taking care of the pet, we're taking care of everybody. Like, we have so much pressure to do it all. Society makes us do it all, soccer moms and lunches, and it's just a lot. So I had to realize that there's some things that I can do and that I can't do. If I listen to my body, I listen to my body. If I have to cancel an event, I have to cancel an event. And it's okay to do that. It's okay to say, you know what, I'm not going to be able to be there. I'm sorry, I don't feel well. And then I had friends that were like, you're always sick, or you always don't feel good. or it's always something with you. Yeah, it is, because I have a condition that affects me at certain times. So the overall, it was just overwhelming. But I'm blessed to have a good church group, a good friends and family. I have friends that if I'm in the hospital, they're bringing over a casserole, or they're smuggling me food, you know, if I need it. And then like, well, you know, what can you eat? Are you on a renal diet or not? You know, our friends that are like, no, I'm not bringing you anything. Like, I'm not, you know, and I'm like, bring me tonight. No, I'll bring you a smoothie, or I'll bring you know, a fruit plate or something, you know. But you have to have people in your life that are going to hold you accountable and tell you what you're doing, what you're not doing, and support you. Because at the end of the day, if you're making bad choices that it's affecting your lupus, it's not going to help you either. That's why I decided a few years ago, which I've struggled because cheese is like my downfall. I've tried to give up dairy. I didn't realize how much dairy I was ingesting, because with rheumatoid arthritis, I would get just my swelling. And some days I'd use my wheelchair, some days I'd use my cane, and I just wanted to overall find a better way to try to help my body. So for me, eliminating dairy has been helpful. But it's hard because that cheese, I was in France, how am I gonna give up cheese? So I go back and forth and I'll binge, and I'll admit it, but you do have to try to invest in your body to make sure, because sometimes what we're eating is detrimental to us. So with that, I understood that I also couldn't overdo it. Life doesn't stop because you have lupus. So I make jewelry part-time, I coach basketball when I can, and there's times I've had to cancel. There's times I had to cancel basketball camp out of town, you know, and whatnot, because disability doesn't pay for anything. You know, how can you eat well on disability? So you literally have to use your environment. You have to use your friends, your family. You have to plan. You have to realize, you know, what's important to you. Like, do I really need cable? Or do I need more, you know, internet? It's just, you have to make choices that you might not have to make. And for me, that was hard because I was used to being able to provide for myself. But when your body doesn't allow you to, you just have to throw your hands up and say, this is out of my hands, and I'm not gonna continue to feel bad about my situation or feel bad about the things that are happening that I can't control. With trying to understand my condition and people telling me that the same thing, like, oh, well, I don't know anything about lupus, or the phrase like, oh, well, I knew somebody that had lupus, but, you know, they're dead. Or, you know, and I'm like, well, geez, you know, that's not helpful. Or they're like, yeah, or they got the cancer now. And, you know, it's just like, wow. And at the end of the day, there are people that sadly have passed. And that does motivate me to strive, because they were a sacrifice. And any of us, even with lupus or out, or without lupus, we can go at any day. Tomorrow is not promised. And I want us to be very vigilant in just thinking about lupus, but who am I besides the lupus? There's things I like. There's things I like to do. You know, like life doesn't stop. Like even when I had all my rips and boils and was scaring people, I'd still throw on some lipstick and a heel and say I'm beautiful, and it doesn't matter. Like, I still look good. Even if I didn't really believe it, I had to tell myself that. I also suffered hair loss. You know, as women, people don't realize, like just your hair, you know what I mean? When you see clumps and whatnot, get a wig, get something, wrap it up. It doesn't matter. Like, the things, the symptoms that are happening to your body does not have to define you, your life, or your lupus. Like, life doesn't stop because of it. And I don't feel like we should feel guilty for things that we can and cannot do.